I had to hammer the hell out of it because the bearing race was stuck on the here. Lots of corrosion on here, so I cleaned that up. Hey everybody, look what I got. It's not an XMR, but it's got it for a good price. It's an old farm four-wheeler, brute force 750 Kawasaki. It needs some work, needs a couple new tires. It's been sitting for 3 years as a brand new click and go plow, never used. And it's just been sitting, so I got to do some work, tear it down and go through everything, change oils and whatnot. But I'll be able to do some work around the house here with it, and maybe even some trail rides. So we'll see what happens. She does still start up, but stumbles pretty good. You can tell the gas is really bad, and the fuel pump is whining a bit because of it. It hesitates a bit when it goes into four-wheel drive, but that's the actuator. Once they sit for a while, the actuator on these things start going bad. Everything else seems to work. It seems to be pretty decent condition considering it's been sitting for 3 years. Everything seems tight, a little rusty, but what are you gonna do? Clean her up, change all the oils. I wanted to get something to maybe do a little bit of plowing around here with, and run my stuff back and forth to the shelter. So it'll be perfect for that. It even came with an old Kimpex storage box for the back, but it's all the foam on it and their handles and everything are all rotted off, and it's full of garbage. You can see it's going to need a couple of tires. They're all cracked from sitting. I think this one was inflated too much and the weather got to it. The other one's not too bad. Front ones are kind of iffy too, but fairly decent for a farm vehicle anyways. Alright, so I got the axle and there's the axle there. I cleaned it up and painted it there, and I had to hammer the hell out of it because the bearing race was stuck on the here. Lots of corrosion on here, so I cleaned that up. Came out of the rear end nicely though. The rear end had good oil in it, so that's a good thing. Well, there's the hub. It was stuck a little bit too, but I got it off. This is what the bushings were a little corroded, so I cleaned that one up. I'm just going to clean this one up on the wheel. I'll grease those up, put them back in. So the bearing seems to be all right. I filled it up with grease in there, and I'm going to put the bushings back in. So I'll tell you what, it's very hard to work on these things when everything's corroded and seized, and That's mostly just bolts and nuts and stuff. The rest of the vitals seem to be okay. We're gonna try the front one next, so should be interesting also. Okay, so I've always recommended to grease the ends at least, so you don't get corrosion on it. Same with the bolts. The bolts I put the white grease on there. It just keeps water out and keeps it from corroding, keeps the metals from sticking together. Okay, the axle went in nicely. It's nice and tight against the diff. And now, if you notice, it says on the side there, it says top. So when you put that on, it's got to be up. That goes on next. Just slides on all the way on the axle. And then the hub with the wheel studs goes on the splines, and I greased all that too. So bang that on and put it back together. And also blew Loctite in the ends of these bolts here. And as another measure, I put anti-seize on the nuts or the bolts. On the threads, so this stuff never seizes. You just torque it and then it doesn't come off. So that's one. I got 3 more to do, and I'll probably end up having to change these brake pads also. Looking a little worn. So miraculously, the last hub and everything came off easy. 1 out of 4. I still have the 2 front hubs and disc to take off. I'm gonna have to get a puller for those. This is the right side it was seized to. And that's the one that I've finished. So 3 out of 4 are tough to get off, but I'm done, half done anyways on those. Got lots more to do. That's a slippery one, eh? Well, it seems all the joints are good on the axle still. So I'm just cleaning up the axles a bit, and I'll paint the center and just want to make sure there's no corrosion on them. So the bearings still seem pretty good on here. They're not loose. They're not feeling like they're getting worn or anything. So I'm just gonna force a little bit of grease into the gap there. So I'll put a little bit of grease on the face here. When the aluminum rims sit on them, the two different metals corrode, and that's what makes it stick. Not interested in cleaning everything up and shining everything, just as long as everything works. That's all I'm interested in. Got to tighten everything up, torque everything up, and then that one's good. Alright, the front ones greased up. This actually fits my Can-Am grease plug that goes in there and you grease her up, so that's perfect. The rears don't though, just the fronts. They're different sizes. So I got everything freed up, greased up. Gonna have to get I got the brake caliper sitting up there. I gotta change the brakes on it, but I gotta wait for brakes. Got on order. And I clean up that a little bit. That looks a bit better. Okay, gotta tighten those up. And then I gotta leave it apart for now until I get the brakes done. And I want to get up in here to work on the winch. Okay, all four Wheels are done. Everything's de-seized and greased up and polished up. Internals anyway, so they don't seize again. So, like I said, now I got to deal with the winch on the front. I'm gonna take that winch out and put a different one in and rewire this. It goes all the way to the rear end for some reason. And the brakes. On the rear, back in there, I don't know if you can see it, I got to take those lines off, brake lines, and I think one of them is seized inside the sleeve. So, got to clean it up, got to add some fluid. Apparently it takes hydraulic fluid in the rear diff and motor oil on the front diff. It's kind of weird, but that's what it calls in the manual. So, and then I'll clean her up a bit, and then we'll deal with the other stuff. There, you can see the brake lines better on that. I guess because it's a wet clutch, hydraulic fluid for the wet clutch. But I got to take those lines off, brake cables, and free them up. Get some hydraulic fluid for the rear diff.